Hey, we're chatting up a storm here already with Helen Fotopulos, former city councillor and Plateau Borough Mayor, discussing this upcoming provincial election, of course, October 1st. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Okay, Premier Couillard has announced, okay, we're starting August 23rd, a week ahead of schedule. First of all, what do you make of that decision?
It was bound to happen. We talked so much about it in the last little while that my bets were on an early one to give him time. It could work both ways, but
when you say give him time, what's the strategy there in your head?
I think from the way it looks anyway, and from what I hear, it's more time to try and attack and repeat what happened the last time the ADQ was up and running, and to bring down the what seems to be the wave that's going for the CAQ. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So in this period, you know politics really well. So we were talking earlier about the CQ just made a bunch of promises in terms of daycare and daycare spots. So this is the time for promises and kissing babies. What happens now?
Well, this whole summer was a baby kissing time, very sort of low key, charm offensive.
Yeah.
I think now things are going to get a little grittier. Just listening to what Alexandre Taillefer had to say a couple of days ago,
yeah.
You know, you think we were on the verge of
a precipice.
Yes, a social revolution. Hey guys, we're not Ontario, and we are very social safety net here. And the fact that Legault is actually talking of going back to the $8 daycare is very indicative of that. So I'm not worried about Quebec going into an Ontario type of curve. What is interesting is to see what's in it for Montreal, what's in it for this region, because if you look at the CAQ program, there's nothing. There's a mention of Montreal in a subtext somewhere.
So what do you make of that, Helen? Because, you know, you mentioned, so Alexandre Taillefer, the Liberals are saying, oh my God, oh my goodness, we don't want to go the Doug Ford route. Meanwhile, the CQ says, wait, hold on, look at all these, we're rolling out these programs, but Montreal, as you mentioned, lost in the melee. What's going on?
Montreal is not part of their plan. Now that their figures are showing a possible route, they're starting to care. And just, you know, we have some really strong candidates that are coming out, people with experience. Certainly some of my ex-City of Montreal colleagues. You've got on the CAQ Chantal Rouleau, the mayor of Pointe-aux-Trembles, Rivière-des-Prairies. For the Liberals, you have France Benjamin. And now we have Manon Gauthier. I'm very glad to see Manon is there, because one of the things that was missing in the CAQ program was a word on culture. It says something about architecture, but not culture. So I have bon espoir, as they say, that with Manon there something will certainly be pressured.
But you mentioned Montreal. You mentioned Montrealers. They, you know, this is an Anglophone show. This is a Montreal show. All of us here, bilingual, trilingual. The threat, the looming threat, right, that the Liberals always say, any vote but for us is a vote for possible sovereignty, independence, referendum. CQ confirming or repeating again and again, it's not going to happen. Isn't that François Legault trying to woo Montrealers? Where do Montrealers turn in all this?
I think he could woo Montreal much better if he had some identifiable Anglo-Allo candidates of a certain trempe, as they say.
Yeah.
On the other hand, this is the first time in about 50 years that the separatist threat is no longer a threat. I mean, you can throw as many balls into that court to say possible referendums, but I don't think François Legault is there. I don't think in the next foreseeable future it's even going to be a question. I think we should also be looking what's happening with the Parti Québécois.
That was my next question. What happens
Québec Solidaire.
there? Yeah.
Well, Québec Solidaire and Parti Québécois are going to be dividing what is left of the sovereignist vote, and the nationalists are more likely to go towards the CAQ, some with the Liberals. So
do you think some nationalists will go to the Liberals?
Oh, there always are. And it's a strategic vote. People vote strategically. And in Quebec, you know, in the best of families, what do they discuss over, you know, Thanksgiving? Oh, no, well, yeah, before Thanksgiving. Labor Day weekend and stuff is, what are you going to do? Who are you going to vote for?
Yeah.
But I think it depends where you live and who's up. So what to watch is also who's going to be the third and fourth parties. You know, like, what is the Parti Québécois going to get?
Will the Parti Québécois survive this, by the way?
Well, at what point? You know, I'd say at best 10 to 15, but they might even get into fourth party status because of the splitting of the votes. Because Québec Solidaire, certainly in the Montreal area, I won't speak for the rest, is bound to keep its support. And, you know, places like Quebec City are interesting to see because they're losing some people like Agnès Maltais, who's been there forever, has a good following. Who's going to replace her? I know that people are vying for her place. Maka Coulthard, who also in Bourget in eastern Montreal, he's got a great following too, has done a good job in the Parti Québécois caucus, but will he be able to retain his
Will the
votes?
party be able to survive
Exactly.
is the bigger question there. Helen, listen, we've run out of time, but too early to call it, do you think?
Oh, too early to call for October the 1st, but I think we have to open our eyes to the fact that in Quebec, there's this wave of change coming in.
Something's happening.
Something's changing. And I think Anglos and Allos have to start looking at this and being strategic about it too.
Helen Fotopulos, thank you so much for taking the time. We'll be chatting with you, I think, once every week probably, as if I have a word to say about it. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned. You're watching BT on City.